call. We gathered together at our normal time, the normal place. I know the schedule was a little bit different for the last few days, but we are here. We are on the morning power up call. We have joined together thousands of students across the planet, across the entire globe. If you actually think about that for a second, there are students inside of this campus working together, all joined together to focus on improving themselves and earning their financial freedom from across the entire planet. All around the globe, there are people tuning in right now because they are just like you. They are pushing forward. They want more. They are hungry for more than the small life that the regular world gives them. They are alone, but together we can join together, and you can feel that sense of belonging. You can understand you're not crazy. You're not the person who's like somehow messed up in the head. You're actually just part of that 1% that is pushing for something more in life, and that's fine. And that's wonderful. And there are other people like you. And on these calls, if this is your first one, on these calls, I gather everybody together once a day, and I share key insights, key mindsets, key beliefs. And once or twice a day, maybe once or twice a week, I'll share some special skills, some things that you can actually apply to use. Now, usually I gain my inspiration for these calls from conversations I have inside of the chats. So inside of the campus itself, people are constantly asking questions. They're posting stuff for review. I'm giving them insights and sharing stuff. And I notice common trends. I notice common ideas or common places where perhaps you're missing some of the ideas from the boot camp, or maybe you're missing some of the ideas from the advanced influence content. And I can guide you. And I realize there's questions that I need to answer. There's new guidance I need to give. So today I'm going to be doing that. I've noticed a pretty big trend inside of the Ask Professor Andrew channel, which is a wonderful experience for me. I love sitting down every day, at least once per 24 hours, and answering all the questions inside of that channel. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. It gives me a really cool idea for where you guys are, and it gives me a chance to share things on an individual level that are going to be very helpful for you guys. But I noticed something. Quite a lot of people ask about you ask about morning rituals. You ask about meditation. A lot of people ask questions or talk about things where they're like worrying about stuff, where they're like, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, or I think I have this. And they think through things far too long. Or they think that by meditating and thinking that their problems will be solved. And I want to present you guys with an idea today, with a bias I want you to have. Now, bias is an interesting word. Most of the time, it has a negative connotation, right? Most people think that biases are bad because most of the time, when people talk about biases, they're talking about like racial things or stuff like that, right? Which are probably not really that good of a thing. So a lot of times when I say the word bias, people will react negatively. However, the word bias simply means you have a preference or a default response to a certain situation, right? And we all have biases in a lot of ways, right? We have things we prefer or value over other things in different situations. Like when you're driving your car, you have a bias to stay in your lane because if you get in the other lane, you could die. So biases aren't a bad thing in and of themselves. If they are incorrectly or inaccurate, then they cause problems. But there is a bias I want you guys to have. I want you guys to adopt this default response to problems and situations. There's a saying, I think Frank Kern was the one I heard it from first. He said something along the lines that action beats meditation every time. If you put two people head to head and they have to fight each other, and one person is going to meditate for an hour and the other person is going to punch the other person for an hour, who do you think is going to win? Obviously, the guy who's actually throwing punches. In life, you only get things through action. Your life doesn't change because you sit there and think, right? If you just sit there and meditate and practice focusing your brain on different things, like that's cool and all, and you'll develop the ability to focus. Like that's the result that comes from that. But action is what's actually going to change your life. It's what you do with that and how quickly you can move from thinking to doing that's going to really make a difference for you. A lot of people worry about problems they don't have yet, or they think about their situation, think about their past. They spend all their time up here in their brain and not enough time actually doing things. When you want to become successful, when you want to achieve greater things in life, you have to do it through action. A lot of people are afraid, right? And fear is a form of meditation. A lot of people are nervous that they won't be able, like they'll hesitate, or they won't respond to an email, or they won't do the work or write something because they're afraid. Deep down, it's because they're afraid they're going to fail, right? And sitting around worrying about something won't change anything, right? Worrying about a problem doesn't fix the problem. The only thing that will fix a problem is action, right? So if you're worried that you're not going to be able to fulfill for a potential client, the answer isn't to sit around and worry about not being able to fulfill for a potential client. The solution is to work, is to get to work and practice and develop your skills. And when you get that potential client, which you should be reaching out to them since the very end of the boot camp, you should be reaching out to prospects continuously until you have 5 to 10 clients. But you should continuously be improving your skills. But once you get that client, that's when you decide to do the work, right? Worrying about fulfilling for the client isn't going to fulfill for the client. The only thing that's going to have you fulfill for the client and create amazing product, like marketing assets for them, is if you actually sit down and create the amazing marketing assets for them. And when you run into a problem, instead of sitting there like, oh no, I don't know how to solve this, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, find a solution and put something into place. Go ask the Legion Chat, go ask me, get some guidance, move, attack, move forward. Raw action solves everything. It is 100% true. And I want you guys to develop this as a bias in your life, a bias toward action. When you're presented with a difficult situation, sitting still is like the worst thing you could possibly do. Take just a brief second to OODA loop, observe, orient, and decide on the correct form of action. Like, do that. Don't spend an hour, days, weeks. Like, you can pretty much figure out what you need to do in about 5 minutes of thinking or meditation if you absolutely need to. And then just get to work. Just do what you need to do, right? Throw yourself at the action. And as you move forward and as you act, that's when you make more observations, more orienting decisions. And then you make a decision, you act again, you refine your path as you move forward. Sitting still is the worst thing you could possibly do. Imagine that making money is like going on a convoy operation. You know, you're driving line of vehicles through enemy controlled territory. You're trying to deliver some materials from one city to another in, like, let's say Afghanistan in the early 2000s, let's say. And you're driving along and problems or difficulties are like ambushes, right? Oh no, I've been contacted by the enemy. Boom, someone fires an RPG and someone lights you up with like a machine gun. If you stop and sit still right there where they're shooting at you, you are going to die. You have 2 options. You can either blow through it. Hopefully they don't blow you up with IEDs, or you can turn around and assault through and attack your ambushers, right? It's the exact same thing with life. When you run into problems, you run into difficulties as you're making money. If you stop and just sit there in the problem will never get solved. You have to actively take action towards solving the problem, either by making the problem not a problem anymore, by just moving forward too fast, or taking care of the problem and resuming the convoy, right? Think of it like that. A lot of people think that the solution to their problems is to sit there and think and like have a long list of morning rituals where they journal for 10 minutes and they meditate or do this or that. Like that's all cool and maybe it helps a little bit, but generally speaking, your life gets better not by doing morning rituals, but instead by taking action, like towards like an actual objective, producing tangible results in your life. That is usually, and I say usually, I mean 99.99% of the time, that is the thing that you need to do. As for myself, some people ask what my morning ritual is or my morning routine is. It's pretty simple. I wake up, I have a list of things from the day before I'm excited to get to work on. Sometimes I'll pause, look in the mirror, and say to myself, I am Andrew Bass. I'm the most competitive person on the face of the planet. And I will sit down on my laptop and I will get to work. And I do the work I need to do. And I go about my day and I check off the things on my list because I know that action is what solves my problems, not thinking, not morning rituals. I am more productive than most people because I just do more work than most people. So in your guys' life, as you're approaching situations, as you're sitting down, as you're going through the program, focus on action. Do your daily checklist. Those are the actions you need to take each day to be successful. After you finish your daily checklist, that's when you can take some of those other actions that perhaps are indirectly related to your outcomes. Maybe that's when you go and listen to How to Win Friends and Influence People. Maybe that's when you go review some of the other content on the main, the real world server, right? Some of the other stuff. Maybe that's when you do these other things. But outside of that working time, you should invest and make sure you are getting your key actions taken care of every day, because action is the only thing that will get you what you want in this life. Develop this bias. Action beats meditation. Action beats meditation. Raw action solves anything, everything. When you're faced with a problem, treat it like an ambush. Push forward or assault through the ambushers and continue on with your journey, because sitting there is not a good idea. So guys, I hope you take this. I hope if you're facing problems, you use this to quickly and efficiently orient yourself to what you need to do, and you take massive action towards solving those problems, because you don't get anything in life unless you pay the price in action beforehand. My friends, it's been a good call. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. We'll do this all over again. I'm going to continue to add some stuff. I have some announcements for you guys I'll be dropping after this call about this week's live review call and/or today's live or sales review call. I'm going to be doing a bunch of different things this week. I've got a lot of content to add to the time and brain management course. I've got stuff to add to the AI course, and I've got stuff to. I'm probably going to refilm some things for the bootcamp. Again, I've got a lot of things on my plate this week. I'm going to show you guys all of them. Make sure you're checking announcements every single day so you don't miss out, because there's nothing worse than spending weeks trying to solve a problem that I've already solved for everybody inside of the courses already. So, my friends, it's been a good call. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.